Hey guys, welcome back to OverTakes. This is Kel.
And this is Misfit.
And we are here with our preview for week 3 of stage 1. I can't believe we're already to week 3. Like, holy
Crazy.
crap, it's going so fast.
Oh, man. I don't know. After last week, last week was just, it was an amazing week to watch all the matches and all that, but it was also confusing as hell.
Yeah.
Minus like 2 or 3 teams like we talked about in our power rankings.
Like, you know your top 2 teams, pretty much, and then between those and the bottom, 5. Like, 3 or 4 teams,
yeah,
it's just, like, there is such a close...
parity.
Yeah, there's so much, like, randomness that, like, any one of those teams could beat each other.
And you can see chinks in other teams, in some teams' armor, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And teams that may be better than the record says. Yes. There's just a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know how they work the schedule where some teams literally are playing the bottom. I mean, yeah, it happens in the NFL. Like, you know, teams will come up and they're in the playoffs because, you know, they played not to be this way, but they played Cleveland and they played the Raiders and they played, you know, the Giants right now and the Jets. They played garbage.
Well, look at that, the Panthers season from a few years ago when they lost one game and it was against the Falcons, who are their divisional rival. And then that's when, like, the Falcons were actually pretty good.
And the rest of their division was bad that year. And I think they played a lot of teams for the NFC West. Mm-hmm. That was when Fisher was coaching.
Yep.
So, well, you knew the Rams
That was the first year of no Harbaugh in San Francisco. Because I think that was the, what's that? Who's the guy that they hired after that?
Oh, God. He sounded like a mobster name.
Yes. But whoever they hired right after, between Shanahan and for the 1 year that he was there, and they were horrific.
Yeah.
They were one of the worst teams in the NFL, and that's coming from a Browns fan.
Yeah.
And then who else was bad? The Rams were terrible that year.
The rest of their division.
The Cardinals were kind of falling off a little bit. That was that was actually when the Cardinals were pretty good.
But Palmer, what happened was Palmer got hurt in the before the playoffs started, and they played the Cardinals first, and they mashed them.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, and I'm like watching my team going, my team just beat Pittsburgh and New England.
Yeah.
You beat the Cardinals with fucking Matt Leinart or somebody quarterbacking. Seriously, I'm not even joking. It was something fucking bad.
It might have been, honestly. Yeah.
And they beat the Falcons, who can't beat the Falcons in a big playoff game.
Right. Doesn't matter how big they're up.
Yeah. Anyway, no wait, they might have beat Seattle. I don't know. Whoever they beat, they didn't beat my team.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like I get that feeling of something like the Valiant. I'm like, there's the opposite of that. I'm going, are they this bad?
Yeah. I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either. That's why we had them higher in the power rankings than a lot of people. But I mean, we'll see this week. But let's talk about news in Overwatch.
So we got a new hero,
Baptiste.
He's on the PTR right now. He is pretty much a main healer. Yeah. Just based off of his kit and everything.
I would go main healer.
Yeah. Because he does some decent damage, but he's not going to be your primary source of damage in any way, shape, or form.
No, it's better damage than other main healers.
Yes.
Even better than Ana. Consistent damage, I think.
Well, mostly because you can get headshots. Yeah.
Headshots with that, and it's a 3-shot clip. Yeah. Or a 3-shot burst, I should say.
Plus his clip is gigantic.
Yeah,
for both his healing and his regular damage.
You think they take that healing clip down to like 8?
I feel like they gotta. It's too big.
I'd take it down to 8.
10 is just insane.
Because it's doing 40 plus healing per...
Yeah.
And it's AoE healing.
Anybody that gets hit by it. I mean, it's splash healing. Like, they're kind of smaller. They're definitely not as big as Ana's. It's probably about half the size of Ana's.
Yeah. And it goes through as well.
Yeah. So there's that.
The other parts of his kit are just insane.
Yeah, the rest of his kit is ridiculous. I really like his self-heal / like heal over time. I think that's a really, really nice...
That's going to be the big one.
Yeah.
That's going to be the... When you initiate, you go in, you click your shift, you know, you keep the healing going while you're going into a fight.
Yeah.
Boy, and that's not going to do anything for goats, is it?
Right.
But you know what? I actually I was watching Silosa. Jeff kind of said, this in no way, shape, or form stops 3-3.
Right.
Goats. But he's saying it's kind of like, embarrassingly, I think he was kind of saying, it kind of is a bolster to that, but read the patch notes, and then we'll see where it's at.
We're trying to make sure that we're doing what we can otherwise to make him...
But they made a great healer. Right. As far as you can tell. Until you get, like, even in a quick play match, I went into a couple of those no limit things, but it's garbage. It's not even, so I just did a couple of hard bot matches, and I mean, they're predictable, but you could get a sense of like where his kit can go. Right. And there are certain heroes that are going to benefit quite a bit. And
and that's why I think honestly, the biggest thing that I noticed is
those rocket boots are key too.
And like that was something that I saw very few people really taking advantage of, and like his ability to jump around and get up to high ground is ridiculous. And having that along with
his healing is long range, and his shots are like much like a soldier. I mean, you can.
Yeah, his shots are about the same range as soldier. That I think they're a little bit closer because the spread goes pretty far once you get like
pretty far
past
back.
a certain distance, but his right clicks handle just like Zarya's. So that just feels really good. I love that style of healing. Like,
so do I.
Just
I like
spamming
that
I feel it's so satisfying.
It's not as complex as, like, say, using Ana, where you got to pinpoint your shots and all that. But it's not as boring as playing fucking Mercy. Or even Lucio too. In Lucio, you got the speed boost, you can run around and do stuff. But like, if you have to heal up with Lucio, it's kind of, I don't want to do this.
Like, okay, well, I switched to healing, I pressed E, and then
you're just like, you just kind of have your finger on left click. You're just kind of like...
Right. But with him, obviously the biggest... that's the biggest one where it's just like, I don't know what you guys are trying to do here. It feels like you're trying to make it...
That is going to make fights go on forever. I was saying before we started up that if you took, like, if you're playing, like, 2CP or you're playing King of the Hill, if you go in, like, on goats and you start to get wrecked, you just put that thing up, like, around Diva or Roadhog, or you're not going to have Roadhog and goats, but if you have a high health character, they got 600 HP and they're not going to die, no matter how many shots they're taking when they're by themselves, even if you die. And then, it gives time for people to come back. Yeah. And you can throw that thing like halfway across the map.
Yeah, it's got a really long range.
I was scared because I wanted to do an experiment, and I put it around Bastion. Yeah. Oh, that's a bad fucking thing. And then as soon as I did that, I'm like, well, let's try something else. I had the ultimate up. So I put the invincibility around Bastion, and I put the fucking shield, or that matrix in front of it. He fucking melted everybody in like 2 seconds. Well, we just watched Pine. Right. Pine shot a barrage through it. Yeah. Fucking team.
It was like a 2-shot, like 2 hits from one of those rockets going through. Yeah. Obliterated like anybody.
And they were running they were kind of running I wouldn't say goats. They were the other team was kind of running goats, kind of not. But they had some DPS in there, and they had a couple. Maybe they were running a 2-2-2. I don't know what they were doing, but he hit. I know there was a Roadhog involved in there, and that was 2 shots, and he was dead.
Right. Well, honestly, where I see it being the most effective, at least maybe in our rank, it basically nullifies a Widowmaker. Because, like, if you have a Widow that is a really big problem, you put that down, and you stand in that, and you're just like, okay, shoot me as much as you want. I'm going to take you out. Yeah. And I like the amount of healing. It's great, like, if you're initiating a fight, too. If you go in with goats, say, I mean, we're going a little crazy with this right now, but you go in with goats. You have him as one of your healers. You have Brig, and I would say probably Zen. Yeah. Or, well, no, you'd have to have Lucio in there for the... Yeah, you need the speed.
Maybe, you might take Brig out of that and have Zen, Baptiste, and for the defensive ultimates.
Yeah, maybe.
But, alright, so you go in like that. You initiate in with... We'll go with the Brig example. You go in with Brig, you rally. Yeah. You put that... Like, you're going on a point, you put that matrix up, you're back behind it, healing the fuck out of everything. Lucio comes in with a sound barrier, you could take a point, and then if you have a Widowmaker or you have a medium range, like even say an Ashe.
Yeah.
Behind that, well, if you're running goats, you're not going to have that. Or your Diva's like backed out or something like that. Mm-hmm. With those missiles, you shoot those missiles through there. It's like a rocket barrage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of like his kit is huge. I really feel like it's not finalized, and we're going to see a lot of changes too.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be one of those like Ashe was kind of like instantly up on the live servers like in a week.
Yeah,
he's going to be a couple weeks.
Yeah, he's going to be a couple weeks because there's going to be some tweaks that they're going to need to make with him. I kind of wish his E wasn't the invulnerability thing. I wanted it more to be like a cleansing circle, or
even if it did the invulnerability and it cleansed.
Yeah.
Or it protected you from CC or something?
Yeah, if it was like a CC protection circle that like it lasted a little bit longer, or but like you couldn't destroy it. So like that's really the counter to it, is that it's shootable.
Yeah. I wish if people went in there too, it DOT'd them.
Yeah. Something like that.
So, like, if someone dives on you, I mean, yeah, they can only take you down to 1 health, but they're losing health, too. They're not just standing outside and shooting, waiting for you to die.
Yeah, that would probably be a little more OP than it needs to be, though. When you have something that makes you invulnerable and then it also damages somebody, that might be a little too much.
Yeah, that's true. I can dream on things.
Right.
Anyway, so that's the new hero. I can't wait to see what these guys do. We'll talk about the patch notes later on.
Yeah.
There's too many to go over right now. They're bolstering pretty much everybody.
Yeah, there's some pretty significant changes.
Yeah. Like the damage boost ones are kind of significant. That was, I was saying, it makes sense with his matrix.
Yeah.
Because the projectiles have to go through it, so you might as well just make all damage boosts like that.
Exactly.
But I mean, there's a lot of other things actually. You know, everybody got a little gift. It was like Oprah was in the fucking dev room. You get a buff and you get a buff. Everybody gets a buff. Like
they nerfed McCree but buffed him at the same time.
Yeah, and hey, they gave Soldiers 1 damage back.
Yeah, they did.
Actually, that kind of made a difference. Weirdly enough, really like when no one thought it would. But anyway, let's get to the this week's stuff. Let's talk feature matches of the week. These are going to be the matches that we're going to be paying close attention to during week 3. So we're going to hit Thursday first.
So Thursday,
there's a couple of choices.
There's a couple of choices, but this is probably the weakest slate of games for the whole week.
Yeah.
Because you got Washington and Florida both playing. Philly hasn't been great. You don't really know what you're going to get with Seoul and Boston.
That Florida Guangzhou match is going to be weird as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
That's going to be a real weird one.
That's going to be a lot of strange comps going on.
But the one that we're really looking at is the big one, and that's San Francisco Hangzhou.
Yeah. This is... What are we getting here? This is the what are we getting here match.
Absolutely. Like, which Hangzhou is going to show up, and which San Francisco is going to show up. Well, honestly, and that's not to say that San Francisco didn't play really well on Sunday.
No, they played good.
Excellent. But Vancouver was better.
Yeah. It's just the normal San Francisco. Vancouver played good, or San Francisco played good, but...
Yeah.
But I think with Violet, though, Violet is a beast.
Yeah, I think they were also just kind of, like, since they were putting in Violet for the first time, that kind of threw off a little bit of their chemistry. So I think that definitely had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But that dude's a beast, and I don't think that's going to last very long.
Yeah.
With him negating them, basically. That's pretty much a one-time thing. First game, it's like the third game of the season, and you're just like, oh yeah, we're going to throw this guy in now.
Yeah.
So
I think he looked better than Sleepy to me.
Yes. Oh,
which we'll see.
Distinctly better. Like, it was a very noticeable difference for me.
There's just a lot of questions with that team.
There are.
I think...
Which DPS are you going to stick with?
I'd keep Sinatra in there if you're playing. He's your Zarya guy.
Yeah.
Maybe flip Architect in and out, I guess.
But I feel like they still got to keep Architect in most of the time.
Because if you need to flip onto something other than Brig, like you need to go Pharah or something like that, you got that.
Yeah.
They're just strange.
Yeah.
And
well, also I think
it's a lot of the stuff is coming to fruition that we talked about at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
what the fuck are they going to run on DPS? Mm-hmm. It's really not DPS anymore.
Right.
It's your other two components of GOATs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're not running... Minimally, they're running DPS heroes.
Right.
Your Zarya Brig players, who are they going to be?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then on other maps, when you're playing Busan First Point, you're going to have somebody in there that's going to be a better DPS player because you're running more DPS on that.
Right.
But is that going to hinder your play for the rest of the map because they're not as good at on Zarya or Brigitte as the other two guys, who are not fucking bad on other heroes.
Not at all.
That's the thing.
But
you could get away with putting Sinatra on some kind of hit scan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Architect is a good widow, really good widow.
Yeah.
If you need that.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they get the most versatility with those two in.
Right now.
I think the biggest question for this team is how well are Super and Choi Hyobin going to play?
Yeah.
Because that's probably one of their weakest links, honestly.
Or Smurf.
Yeah. And
I mean, what you got? Their tanks are kind of meh.
Yeah.
They're
I think
not terrible.
No, not by any means are they terrible, but they are definitely not. With the other strength that they have, their tanks are their weakest part.
Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things is they seem like they're praying that dive comes back because their tanks are kind of like Winston.
Yes.
Winston tanks.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bad on Reinhardt, but they're better Winston tanks.
Absolutely.
And Winston Diva, combo tanks. Like Choi Hyobin's a dive tank player. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you watch him play, you know that's his style.
Yeah, you can see it.
Some guys you watch and you're like, they're used to playing dive. They haven't really figured this out quite yet. I mean, he's not a bad player either. It's just, if there's any situation comes back where there's dive, they'll be fine.
Right.
But the tanks, that is. The rest of it, I just don't know.
Well, the other big question mark in this game is Hangzhou in general is
it's a big...
Which version of Hangzhou are we going to see?
Yeah. It's a big fucking pink question mark.
It really is. Because, in the first week, they looked phenomenal, and then last week, they looked like hot garbage.
Yeah, they did. And I think this goes back to a lot of our conversations last year with Philly.
Yeah. Stop
flipping the tanks in and out. Pick one.
Yeah. Pick Gouchway or pick...
No Smite.
Yeah, No Smite.
Weird. Godsby, No Smite. And Godsby looked bad last week. I thought, it was kind of weird. I watched some of the other stuff and I'm like,
Yeah, Godsby did not have a good week.
For as good as he looked in week one,
mm-hmm. He looked
and for as good as they as a whole looked in week one.
But he was definitely a weak link last week. He was a big part of why they didn't play well because he played very poorly.
And they got beat by Houston, which,
Yeah.
That's
the biggest red flag for me.
Because Houston's... We talked enough about them. I don't want to talk about them. They're nowhere near any matches that we're talking about today.
Right.
So, I'll be talking about one later, but we're not going to really be highlighting it on this show. Let's just put it that way. Because it's not a featured match. unless you're, featuring the Bengals and the Browns from 3 years ago.
Right. Oh, God.
Anyway, I want them to play Gouchway because I think he's a little bit better right now.
I do, too.
Maybe I just like his style a little bit
I don't
more.
know. They just need to settle on which tank they're going to play. Because even if it's one tank plays one game and then the other tank plays the other game, I would accept that. But switching them between maps, I think, is just doing both of them a disservice.
The only thing that worked in Philly's favor is when they had the two lines.
Yes.
When they had Sato, Sato Hotba and then Fraggy Poco.
Yeah.
So when they ran King's Row, but Poco should have been playing all the time, but they kind of had they got synergy with two tank lines.
Exactly.
But you're not going to take Rhea out.
No.
But you know what I mean? It's
exactly.
It doesn't make any sense with them. They just need to pick somebody.
It's weird. I hope that we see the best Hangzhou and the best San Francisco.
Because that could be a hell of a match.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be at about 4 a.m. here the way these men. Because that match before it's going to go 9 hours.
Oh, God. All of the...
if Boombox plays, Philadelphia, Washington is going to be a nightmare for Washington.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 40-minute game.
We said that about the Mayhem in them, too. But there's no Boombox, so...
Exactly. So let's move on to Friday.
Yeah.
First match of the night. That's our match.
Yes.
And it is LA Gladiators, London Spitfire. Both of these teams have a lot of question marks. We saw basically the resurgence of London last week.
Birdring's got to sit.
Yeah, by sitting Birdring, putting Prophet on Zarya, and then putting Guard in was the move to make. Yeah. And they look like their old selves.
Yeah, they did.
And then the Gladiators, they had a rough week. They've had a rough start to this season.
No, I guess Bishu is back. He was sick.
Okay.
But I saw, because he's on the Twitter feed. I don't think he's been practicing really.
Right.
Or, whatever's going on. So they're probably still going to play Void, which for me, I keep harping on that.
Yeah.
And hydration also is not cutting it. Now, Decay, I believe, is eligible this week.
Is it? Okay.
So yeah, because it's week 3. Because I remember now. I remember week 3, he's supposed to come back or to start. Do you put him in for hydration, or do you put him in for Surefour?
Absolutely, you put him in for hydration.
Because and
if you have to move Surefour to the Brig role because Decay is better on Zarya, then you do it.
Yeah,
you got to do whatever you can to win games because
you have to win games.
You got to win some. You got to win some games.
Both these teams got to win to have a shot. And anything. That's why we're featuring this game.
Yeah,
it's 2 powerhouses, from last year that are kind of struggling right now.
Yes. And is this which team is going to resurge, or is it just going to be a nail biter from start to finish?
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for.
Me too.
Because I really want both of these teams to be good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really tough to tell. I have more faith in London than I do LA right now.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go just with one matchup in this: Gesture versus Roar.
Yes,
Roar has looked okay at times. But he has looked terrible at times, too.
Like, there's times where he's looked pretty good, and then other times where he has looked like one of the worst tanks in the league.
I don't know if he doesn't have any synergy with Bishu, or not Bishu,
Void.
With Void, and he has more of a, maybe when they were scrimming, he practiced more with Bishu, and it's kind of just like a learning process, or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
He just, and like with the team as a whole. Okay.
All right, so yeah. With that game is going to be pretty good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And it's crucial in the standings, like overall and for the stage, because we're actually getting close. Got a couple weeks left in the stage,
right?
And I believe a lot of the teams have the next 2 weeks are their bye weeks, so these games matter a lot.
Yeah, they really do.
Like week 4 and 5, I think 5 has most of them.
Yeah, 5 has the most, but there's a lot of bye weeks coming up the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
right, let's hit
next. Saturday,
we
have first game of the day again, Paris and Atlanta.
The biggest game of the week.
Yeah. Honestly, this is 2 teams that we have ranked very high. This is our
top 5.
Yeah.
Paris, I think we have at 4, and
Atlanta we have at 3. So this is a huge match. Both of these teams have been playing really, really well. Two major expansion teams. So
this is for playoff spots and stuff.
Yeah.
We're getting, not late, like full season playoffs, but like the stage playoff setting of stuff. We're going to see how the GOATs goes against, Atlanta, who run GOATs really well and run other things.
Yeah. That's the thing is Atlanta going to force Paris to play something besides GOATs?
I don't think so, because no one else has.
Yeah. I feel like if anybody can, it might be Atlanta.
Yeah.
The other teams would have to be like New York or Vancouver that could really even have a shot at forcing them to play something else.
Yeah.
But
because it also depends on
you got the best GOATs team that we've seen yet with Paris, and then just Atlanta is just they can play anything that we've seen so far. So that really is just going to be. It's going to be fascinating. I cannot wait.
They could bait him into stuff on Oasis.
Yep.
Because, there's always the threat of DeFrance Torb.
Yeah.
If they're playing well or something like that.
Well, they're playing... So they got Ilios to start. So we might see some Torb in there.
Yeah. They could bait... This map situation, it might not be total GOATs.
Yeah.
Are they going to run it? Probably.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely going to be some GOATs.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, like some of the maps...
There's certain sections where, you almost have to.
Well, yeah, like 66 and any of the escort, really any of the escort or hybrid maps are going to run a lot. You're going to see some weird stuff on Anubis and Ilios.
Yeah.
Like you always do.
And there's always, one part of Hollywood that people get weird.
Yeah.
Like the Wild West section of Hollywood.
There's you always get something strange going on there. In any fucking
the pros one side or the other.
Yeah, someone's usually running something that you're not expecting or something like that. But this, I mean, is one of those matches where we're going to see how good Paris is. And really, for me, I want to see how good Paris is. I think they're top 5, obviously.
Yeah. And
I want to see how resilient Atlanta is when they get pushed.
Yes.
I think pushed early.
Yeah.
Because Philadelphia was kind of back and forth that game.
Mm-hmm.
If Paris comes out and just kind of starts smacking them around, I'm going to see
how they
where they're
respond
at
to that. Yeah,
with their trolling and whatnot.
Right.
Because like we said, they bait people out of stuff. But if Paris isn't biting, what are they going to do?
Right.
I mean, they're going to have to fight straight up, and we'll see how they do with that.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be. It's going to be a good gauge for both of these teams to see where they're at.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's move on to Sunday, our game of the day, last game of the week, New York versus Seoul.
It's a classic matchup from last year.
Yep.
Means a lot again this year. At least the first stage last year was a big match, too.
It was.
I mean, we're going to see where Seoul's at, and if New York is capable of playing teams on their, up in the upper echelons.
Right, because
their schedule's been in.
Yeah, they played the Valiant. That was probably the best team that they played so far.
Yeah,
Valiant took them to 5. So this is really going to be what either solidifies New York as the best team in the league, or shows that hey, even they're vulnerable.
Right, because they look very hard to beat.
Yes.
But is it the competition or is it just them being them?
Exactly.
I mean, that being said, Meko and Mono are stupid.
Yeah, they're playing ridiculous.
Jonak has been okay, but I mean...
Right, that's probably been the most surprising part is, Jonak is still playing really well, but he is not playing to the level that he was last year.
Also, too, I mean, you don't have as many squishies running around.
Right.
So, you only have their supports, really, and you have tanks where you're...
Right.
I mean, he's doing a lot of damage. It's just that his limbs, his healing's a little low for me.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some of the other guys like Izayaki, I mean, but there was a match, he had 10,000 healing, or a map or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's questions. I mean,
the biggest thing, honestly, is...
Nene has to play.
Yeah, well, Nene is going to play, Libero is going to play.
Yeah.
There's really not a whole lot of questions with New York. It's just a matter of are they going to be able to be as dominant as we've seen them able to be? Yeah. And are they going to be able to take care of business against a much better Seoul team than we've seen in the past?
And are we going to get the Seoul that played Dallas and got absolutely annihilated? Or are we going to get the Seoul that, has been beating everybody else?
Right. Right. Exactly. Which Seoul are we going to see? And are they going to play up to their maximum ability?
Because Fisher's going to be right up in it.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when people all week are saying, "Wow, Meko and Mono," and he's
like, "Oh no, I'm still here."
Yeah, I'm the GOAT.
And then I think Michelle has a lot to prove as well.
Yeah.
He's going to be there and be like, "Hey, you guys are going to be talking about me after this week."
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be us too that you're going to be talking about.
Yeah, where it gets weird for Seoul is. Other than Fleta in the DPS, for me.
Yeah.
It's just Brig, but if you have to flex out, do you want him to flex off of Zarya?
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna have a Zarya, you want Fleta playing it.
Yeah. I want Fleta playing anything. He's a profit type of player.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have, and they were smart to start, and they had him playing Zarya other than But yeah, we'll get our picks in for these. You'll get those before the matches start, for sure. Let's move on to In Our Sights.
So we're kind of doing a combination In Our Sights / fantasy, but also we're going to give you some guys that we think you should stay away from this week.
More in the fantasy, in our fantasy pop-off also. Yeah. Kind of doing a combo because...
we end up kind of talking about the same players. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not so much to say, but let's start it off with, we were just talking about his team. Let's start off with Nene.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, he's a fucking beast.
Yeah, he is he is LaDainian Tomlinson
Yeah.
in the mid-2000s kind of numbers. Like, no one is even close to him. And
he's getting the playing time.
Yeah.
I don't think he's available in any leagues, but if you're doing unlimited,
he's got to be your guy.
Yeah, definitely think about putting him in there.
Yeah.
Because as long as they run him and Libero together, you're going to have a lot of points from him because the rest of their team is good.
Right.
Too. And Animo's a beast, and
that just boosts his numbers even more so. Like, it's ridiculous, the numbers that this guy is putting up. And
he's playing with Meko and Mono.
Right.
So he's doing, all the right things to get his stuff to stay at a high charge level.
Mm-hmm. Stay at a high charge level. And just put out massive damage. But he's also playing smart in that he's saving his bubbles to save his teammates.
Yeah.
And
he's doing all the right things on Zarya.
Yeah, he has been phenomenal.
And his damage numbers are dumb.
His damage numbers are insane. His eliminations are ridiculous. So he's just putting up huge numbers.
Fantasy-wise, he's in the Zarya DPS-wise, you might want to start shying away from guys playing Brig.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, not might. I would go definitely. And
look, because even with the healing and the damage combined, it's still not as much as some of these guys are putting up as Zarya.
Yeah, even
most of them.
Even Carpe had a bad week, and he still put up pretty much more than most Brig players.
He had like 180 points or something like that,
which is low for Zarya.
Right. Yeah, most of the other top Zaryas were putting up
220
over 200 easily.
Yeah, which brings us to our next guy. It's going to be Ivy.
Yes.
From the Toronto Defiant, who last week put up absolutely 92,000 damage. How many times have we said that in the last?
Ridiculous.
He had 45 final blows, too.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, his limbs were insane. He's going to be, because they're going to be playing a lot of maps. Maybe not in the second match this week. They got Boston. But Boston's tricky.
Yeah, Boston is tricky. So I feel like
with fusions this week too. Yeah, so
with both teams that they're playing, they have a chance to really put up a lot of points because they have the possibility of going to a map 5 in both games. Yeah. Depending on how well they play, especially against New York.
Yeah. New York is going to be the challenge for them.
But since it only counts one, you have two games that are going to give you a possibility of giving you big points. So I think Ivy is a great play in any type
kind of league, especially if he happens to be like available. Hey, the rest of the people in your league are dumb.
Yes, yes, they are.
He got drafted in our combined league.
Yeah,
because he's putting up ridiculous numbers. Plus, Nako's going to be back. Not that 8, I think, had the second most healing or second most Zenyatta numbers.
Yeah,
which he's not even their main Zenyatta. So Nako's going to have a little bit to prove, I guess, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. So then the last guy, who honestly is another one that you could put on either and might be available in one of your leagues just because a lot of people were like, oh, he's switching from a healer to a DPS, blah, blah, blah.
Smart people are kind of jumping on the Zarya train.
Right.
With the amount of damage and the amount of, limbs and stuff that they're getting.
Yeah. But it's Kareev.
Yeah.
So Kareev, if you haven't seen the clip of him getting a grab in 15 seconds, do yourself a favor and find that. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, even more ridiculous than last season when Sinatra got one in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's like speedrun records going on there.
Like, ridiculous. It was like
unbelievable.
One right click got him like 45%.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Because
to be fair, he did hit like 4 or 5 different... Like, he hit most of their team. Like, if it had been a grab, it would have been basically the whole team.
But still...
but yeah, insane.
And it was high energy shots,
he was at 100%. So he just, like, mashed with that.
Yeah. Just providing them... He's one of the standouts on their team right now.
Absolutely.
Which we kind of thought he was. We didn't play him last week for some reason.
We thought somebody else was going to pop off. And
yeah, it was, one of those things.
But I don't think we're going to make that mistake anymore.
No. He is definitely someone to watch. They have Vancouver this week and Guangzhou. So you have 2 shots. boy, do they have a horrible schedule.
They really do. Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to be going 0-4 into the Guangzhou match.
Yeah. Because I have a really hard time thinking that they're going to beat
Vancouver. They could take a map from them, though.
Yeah, and
if they can hang with them, Korea's going to put up numbers.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be able to hang with them for a little bit, but I don't think they're going to be able to push it over the edge. But if they're even able to hang with them, then Korea is going to put up massive numbers. And then they have an even better chance of putting up good numbers against Guangzhou, because I feel like they'll probably win that game, and they'll probably take it. But I do think it's going to go to 5.
Yeah,
because both of those teams are very good.
Yeah, the thing you're going to get into in that match, though, too, you're probably going to see him on other DPS heroes because it's Guangzhou.
Yeah, right.
And, you're trying to play to them a little bit.
Right, but, I mean, it's not like they're playing Chengdu.
Well, yeah, where you're just quick playing it.
Yeah.
Who are we running? I know
Wrecking Ball and whoever else.
Yeah, they're not... I don't want to get into that right now.
Right. All right. So
my feelings on that team.
So let's jump into some of the teams and players that we're really thinking like stay away from these guys.
Yeah, especially.
So the first one is going to be. I mean, how much can we harp on this team? Houston.
Yeah, the only guy of value on that team is probably Dante.
Yeah.
On the Zarya and doing Sombra things, because boy, their tanks are not putting up numbers.
No. Their tanks aren't putting up numbers.
And this is purely fantasy stuff.
Yeah. Right. Their tanks aren't putting up numbers. Their healers aren't putting up enough numbers. It's not like they're not putting up numbers, but they're not putting up what you need from them. Yeah.
I mean, if you have no choice, yes, play Raucus, because he's a Zenyatta player and he's going to do a lot of damage, a lot of healing. He's going to get points. Is he going to get a ton of them?
Probably not.
Probably not. But if it's a last resort, I would play him. If you have Dante, I would definitely play Dante. But
the one thing that might give them a little bit better is the fact that they're playing Florida this week.
Yeah.
So they have a better chance of putting up. But if they just mash, then they're really not going to get that much value out of them. So it's definitely I'm very hesitant to play any Houston player.
Yeah, especially this week it's a shy away. It's their only matches against Florida.
They only have the one match, so.
And who knows what's going to happen with that?
Yeah.
That's just two bad teams playing, and it's going to be a shit show.
Right.
So you can have guys that are in there getting numbers that you don't, nobody wants these numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys.
So the next team / player would be Guangzhou. Most specifically, or pretty much anybody besides Shu.
Yeah.
Because Shu is really the only guy that is like played in just about every map.
They're flip-flopping guys in.
But that's the biggest thing, yeah. They're switching guys out constantly, so you never really know how many points they're going to be able to actually put up, because they might only play two maps.
Yeah, 2 maps or
and that's
one
just
map.
Not enough.
The first match of the week, they play one map. The second, you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
I mean, we have Eileen, who's going to be a great player, but the way they're running their DPS line...
Right. He's not going to get the playing time that we need him to.
It's one of those things, especially if you have like their DPS, keep them in case the meta flips, which it's probably going to at some point.
Yeah.
Where these guys are going to pop off and they're going to be playing a lot more. Because there's going to be a point where nobody's playing, well, maybe not nobody. They're not going to be playing goats all the time.
Right.
So you're not going to have Zaryas and Briggs. You're going to have guys playing the heroes that...
Right.
Or especially the guys playing Brig.
Yeah.
You're going to get more value.
Oh, for sure.
I would not dump anyone, especially if it's a big name guy is a good DPS.
I would just specifically avoid them this week.
With playing the Valiant and Florida, especially the Florida match, both of them are going to be running wacky shit, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I think, with Guangzhou in general, like, you just don't know who's going to play when. Yeah. Minus their supports, because they're swapping out... Or in Rio. Rio's probably the only
Rio too. Yeah, Rio's really good.
Yeah. But like everybody else has been swapped out at least a couple of times, so you just never know how many points they're going to put up. Yeah. So next ones are Yakpeng / Envy.
Mostly matchup wise this week. And they're aggressive and they're playing, which we like. You guys know how much we like Toronto and how much we like Envy. But they're playing New York, and then they're playing Boston.
Right. Like, playing against New York is, like, if they make those little mistakes, or they're
going to get punished.
Yeah, New York is just going to absolutely punish the shit out of them.
Yeah.
If they make some of the mistakes they made in the past. So that just doesn't, it's not a good matchup for them.
Yeah.
And then playing Boston, I just feel like with Fusions coming back, really the only player that I'm comfortable with Toronto is possibly Neko.
Yeah.
Because
you
don't know what you're going to get from him, and Ivy.
Because he's just a beast on Zarya, especially against Boston.
Right.
You could, if you decide to play one of these guys and you don't get any value against New York, don't fret. That match is probably going to go at least 4 meaningful maps, possibly 5. Because Boston's way better when they have Fusions in there. At least that's the way it looked week 1.
They're much more likely to put up better numbers against Boston, but it's that match against New York really hurts them because now you only really have one match, and you just don't know for sure whether those guys are going to put enough to warrant playing them. Whereas with Ivy, I think he's gonna put up numbers no matter who he's playing against.
Most Zaryas are going to put up numbers because other than like your Zenyatta, they're pretty much the damage dealer,
right?
And if he can consistently get high energy like he had last week, and they weren't playing bad teams either.
No.
Because they played Atlanta, he looked decent, and against the Valiant, he was insane.
Yeah.
So, you're getting value out of it. It's just, if you want to, if you have a different opinion on maybe putting like Envy in, say, if you have Envy, he's like your best option for tank, I would be scared of the New York game, but he could still bounce back against Boston.
Yeah.
Points-wise. Especially if some leagues are combined. If you have a combined league, I would shy away from them totally.
Yeah.
Except for Ivy and Neko. You might want to put Aid in too if you have them, if they're running, because you're going to run them on main support.
I'd be more hesitant. I definitely, like, as well as Aid played the past couple weeks, I'd still be pretty hesitant to play him.
Put a main support in over a flex support of Zenyatta-ish.
Right. Like a Zenyatta is just going to give you more points by default. So let's move on. We got a couple more. Honestly, a player that's been kind of disappointing fantasy-wise, and that's Defran.
Yeah.
They've got a tough matchup this week.
He's been good on Zarya, but he's decent enough.
Yeah, but he's middle of the pack as far as points.
Yeah.
And just based on the matchup, I don't think he's going to be the one that really puts up the numbers that you're going to want.
Yeah.
I would lean more towards some of their other players if you're going to go for that.
Yeah, I would lean more towards maybe their tanks or their supports.
Yeah. Plus, they only have one match, and I think that hurts them more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a pretty knockdown, drag-out match. It's probably going 5.
Yeah.
So you could get a lot of points in that. But I would shy away from Defran this week. Because especially if they try to do a weird strat, it's going to be with him.
Right.
So you're going to lose that Zarya value. You're going to, Torb can crank some numbers out, or Tracer, or Sombra.
Right, but it's just not going to be the same amount of numbers that you're going to get from a Zarya.
Especially someone like Ivy that's playing them pretty much 80 to 95% of the time.
Right. And then the last, we got Dallas.
I
wouldn't play Dallas just because, they're the only players that are going to
Unco's the only guy to play on that team.
Yeah, he really is. Because even their most consistent player in OGE is just not getting the numbers that you need from a guy like that.
Right.
You can get better numbers from elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely elsewhere. Even you can even hit some of the teams like Florida or Chengdu or Washington for off tanks or supports that, might have, people are just like, they're garbage, I'm not picking them up.
Right.
You might be able to get more point value because they're, AKM if you have AKM, don't drop him.
No.
I would even say that with effect.
Yeah.
Or drop him now and try and pick him up later when the meta changes.
Right. Because effect's going to be basically useless until the meta changes.
Yeah.
Until he can go back to playing Tracer and just be able to be that hyper aggressive, make plays in the backline flanker. Because he just can't do that in this meta at all.
No, because he tries to Zarya,
they just punish the shit out of him.
Yeah. I mean, AKM is definitely the play. If you have AKM, I wouldn't play AKM this week either because you just don't know. And you might kick yourself in the pants for not playing him. Definitely keep him because if he plays all the maps this week, Or at least 90%. Like, they take him out for one or something like that.
Well, the other thing with them is they only play one game.
Yeah.
And they're playing Shanghai, which, I mean, they have the potential to put up some numbers, but you just really... It's tough to know, and it's a lot riskier to play any of those players because you just don't know what their coaches are going to do as far as pulling them and playing other people and all that crap. So I just say just avoid most of the Dallas players minus Unko.
Yeah, and if you like we were saying, if you have them, don't discard them quite yet.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Effect.
Yeah, Effect is probably... You could probably get rid of Effect.
I mean, there's other guys,
I definitely
too.
hold on to OGE. I definitely hold on to AKM.
RCK.
Yeah.
You know what? You can play RCK this week.
RCK has been playing really well.
I mean, that's RCK and Unko are probably your two plays if you want to play someone from Dallas.
Because they're the only guys that have played really every single match.
Yeah. And they're the most consistent players that they have.
Right.
Other than when AKM's in, but you don't know when he's going to be in.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a wait and see with him. That's a let's see what they do this week. If they play him
the whole game this week, then
be comfortable next week playing him.
But I'd still be very hesitant to play him just because.
I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Coaches are so frustrating.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that we're saying drop Effect. There's a lot of guys. These DPS guys especially.
Yeah,
you
there's so many available.
If you have like guys like Birdring, Linkser, Taimu, or any of these like. Even like for Florida Saya player, a lot of people picked him up because they're like, oh, he's going to go off.
Right.
Guys like that, like those Widow main kind of guys, you just get rid of them. They're
not going to get any play.
And don't worry if someone picks them up because
there will be other guys available.
Yeah. And the meta's good. You want the consistent DPS players anyway.
Right.
And you'll be able to pick them up anyway if the meta shifts into something weird. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for our feature matches, our fantasy, and our In Our Sights for the week. Don't forget to hit a like and hit a subscribe if you're on YouTube. Please rate us if you're listening on iTunes. And thanks to everybody for, commenting, talking to us about Overwatch League. We love doing it. And we love, putting these videos out and stuff, talking to you guys about it. And don't forget, guys, you still have time to join the Unlimited and the Pick'em Leagues on High Noon Pick'em. Or highnoon.gg now.
Yeah.
Last year on that. Sign up for those if you're new and you don't know about it. It's in the links down below in the description. We will talk to you guys later on. We're going to have our picks and all that stuff before the matches go on.
Catch you guys on the next one. Later.